15 years later, the cinema is taking its first steps. Cameramen employed by the Lumiere brothers filming at Jerusalem Station provide the first moving pictures taken in Palestine. From now on, the camera is a recording eye, and what it records is this: a society much like that of Cairo, Damascus, or Beirut, in an Arab city much like any other. By the end of the 19th century, Palestine has 500,000 inhabitants, of whom 30,000 live in Jerusalem. A veiled woman, a Sunni Muslim, one of the majority. An Orthodox Jew. He too turns away from the camera. Here we have an Armenian Pope. Each of the Christian denominations has its church here in the Holy City. The holy places of the three religions are scattered across a few hundred square meters. The Great Mosque is close to Christ's tomb. Further along, at the foot of the Wailing Wall, a Jew is reciting a prayer. He is wearing a Turkish tabush, and though he prays in Hebrew, his everyday language is Arabic. Jews form half the population of Jerusalem, but in the country as a whole, they make up less than 5% of the total. Christians account for 10% and Muslims 85%. All of them are subjects of the Sultan of Constantinople. There are no frontiers in the Ottoman Empire. There are administrative divisions in which, in this immense territory, Palestine occupies a mere 27,000 square kilometers, made up of 3 small districts in the south of the province of Damascus. The same empire in the 17th century. In the meantime, it has lost the Balkans, France and Italy have seized North Africa. England has moved into Egypt, Aden, and even Kuwait.
The Holy Land is first seen at Haifa, one of the most important seaports in Palestine. Center of commerce and industry, its strategic position bids fair to make it a focal point for shipping throughout the Orient. The modern government building exemplifies the progress made by the Jewish people during the past 20 years, as does this huge hydroelectric power plant, an architectural and engineering achievement standing out as a modern background to an ancient camel train that plods the shallow waters of the Mediterranean Sea. On the road to Galilee, to the ancient town of Nazareth, where he who is called the Nazarene dwelt in his childhood. It has changed but little in many centuries. In Galilee, the Arab shepherds guard their flocks just as they have for centuries past. Shepherds and their sheep have always been associated with the Holy Land, and native shepherds remind one of the tales of old, like David, sweet singer of songs. Returning to the coast, the Jewish city of Tel Aviv stands out on the banks of the great Mediterranean Sea. It is one of the major ports of Palestine. Its rise during the past few years has been an economic phenomenon. From a mere wasteland of sand dunes in 1936, today its beach is classed among the finest on the Mediterranean shore. Here is the modern romance of Palestine. Here the development of industries, the building of fine structures, the employment of thousands in constructive occupations, brings the city of Tel Aviv to an envious place among the cities and ports of Palestine. Dizengoff Circle, named after the late mayor and pioneer builder of Tel Aviv, is one of the beauty spots of this modern city. The newer generation looks ahead with hope and courage for the years to come, and the Boy and Girl Scouts, called the Maccabee after the Maccabee warriors of ancient times, form a bulwark of strength for the survival of New Palestine. In the agricultural sense, young people are more in evidence than they are anywhere else in the world. The immigration of youth is the keystone not only of the agricultural expansion, but of the entire structure of New Palestine. Here many settlements thrive, and the youth of Palestine are making great headway in bringing forth produce from the earth, varying from cereals and legumes commonly grown in temperate climates to the fruits native to subtropical lands. Near Tel Aviv is Jaffa, where fishing plays a most important part in the lives of its people. And practically the same methods of boat and net are used today as they were by 4 of the first disciples who fished in the Sea of Galilee. Even though the Jewish farmers employ modern farm machinery, Arab farmers still adhere to primitive methods in tilling the soil and reaping their crops. Within the city of Bethlehem stands the Church of the Nativity, oldest Christian church in the world. Its narrow entrance was so built to prevent desert horsemen from riding into the hallowed interior. The flickering light of candles casts soft shadows on the grotto of the Nativity and its beautiful sacred decorations. From Bethlehem to the holy city, Jerusalem the Golden, lying serenely across the valley. The new city of Jerusalem is banked with modern stores and massive buildings that stand out in sharp contrast to the ancient city of biblical days. It has been the chief city of Palestine for 3,000 years and bears a name which was to denote the abode of peace. Jerusalem holds the supreme place in the world's reverence. To Jew, Christian, and Mohammedan alike, it is the holy city. The Jewish administration of Palestine is carried on in these agency buildings. Old Jerusalem is surrounded by a high winding wall built in 1542 by Suleiman the Magnificent. Herod's Gate, Jaffa Gate, and Damascus Gate still stand in its crumbling stones. Within these walls, the sacred places associated with the life of the Nazarene have been localized by long tradition. Its time-worn streets are colorful and hold great interest for the visitor. Jerusalem is situated in the mountains of Judea, and therefore many of its roads and thoroughfares are hilly and at times steep. Here many religions meet and all labor and worship side by side. There are many Christian churches in Old Jerusalem. Throughout the ages, these Christian shrines have attracted pilgrims from many lands, and so long as they endure, they will continue to be looked upon as the most sacred and holy in all the world. For many stand on the traditional sites that mark historical events in the life of the Nazarene. Many of these are located in the Russian compound, and it is not unusual to see processions of devout priests. At the ancient marketplace, one language, that of barter and trade, is sufficient for all. Within the walls of Old Jerusalem, a veritable multitude of street vendors is to be found, and one staple food, oil cakes, finds many purchasers. A great many of the inhabitants make their own pottery for cooking and serving utensils and for decorative urns and vases. And it is not unusual to see those of the older generation meticulously repairing the most modern timepieces. This worker is a Yemenite with his carefully curled side locks. Within the gates of the old city stands the Wailing Wall, the only remaining part of the ancient temple. Here Orthodox Jews congregate to lament the fall of Israel and to pray for its restoration. Their cries and their tears bear witness to their faith. An oblong platform resting partly on vaults includes the temple area. In the center stands the Dome of the Rock, called by many the Mosque of Omar. Its floors are covered with priceless carpets and rugs, and its walls are beautified with rich mosaic inlay. Before entering any holy place, the Arab must bathe his hands and feet in public fountains provided for that purpose. As dusk falls and the shadows lengthen, an Arab from his lofty perch in a minaret calls the faithful to prayer. Thus men of all faiths find a common inspiration in the holiest city in the world.